Good evening, live from this news center of the Sultanate of Oman television. Here we present to you tonight's news bulletin. But first, the headlines. The Ministry of Health reports 12 deaths and 1,084 new COVID-19 cases. The Sultanate and Sri Lanka discuss enhancing cooperation in industrial and commercial exchange fields. And trough of low pressure over Arabian Sea continues to affect most of the Sultanate. Good evening once again, and thank you for joining us. Those were the headlines. Now the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Nathan bin Tariq received a cabal of thanks from His Highness Sheikh Nawaf Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah, Emir of Kuwait, in reply to His Majesty's condolences cable on the death of Sheikh Faisal Mohammed Abdul Aziz Al Malik Al Sabah. His Majesty the Sultan sends a cabal of greetings to His Excellency Xi Jinping, President of China, on the centenary of the founding of the Communist Party of China. As many as 1,084 new cases of coronavirus COVID-19 were registered today in the Sultanate, in addition to 12 new COVID-19 related death cases. This brings the total number of positive COVID-19 cases to 288,138 in the Sultanate. The total number of COVID-19 related death cases reached 3,484. The ministry also pointed out that 1,348 new cases have recovered, bringing the total number to 262,174 recoveries. The ministry also pointed out that 130 cases were hospitalized over the past 24 hours, adding that the total number of current hospitalized COVID-19 infected patients stands at 1,265. Of them, 446 are in intensive care units, ICUs, around the Sultanate healthcare institutions. His Excellency Qais bin Mohammed Al Yusuf, Minister of Commerce, Industry and Investments Promotion, held a virtual meeting with His Excellency Tharaka Balasuria, State Minister of Regional Cooperation of Sri Lanka. During the meeting, they reviewed the proposal to establish a direct line between the Sultanate and Sri Lanka with the aim to export Omani products and import Sri Lankan products through the ports of both countries. The meeting also focused on development and enhancing cooperation in commercial and investments fields, in addition to establishing Sri Lanka industries in the Sultanate and sign free trade agreements. The two sides also got acquainted with the experience of one of the Sri Lankan companies in the field of rubber products. The latest weather charts and analysis of National Multi-Hazard Early Warning Center shows that the trough of low pressure over Arabian Sea continues to affect most of the Sultanate. Advections of clouds with chances of rain and thunder showers associated with gusty winds, a flow of wadis and local flash floods are expected over governors of the Far, Al-Wusta, Al-Hajar Mountains and the adjoining areas. Sea state is expected to be rough along Arabian Sea coast with wave height ranging from 3 to 4 meters, whereas along Oman Sea coast it will be moderate with a maximum wave height of 2 meters. The Civil Aviation Authority advises the public to take precautions during thunder showers, flow of wadis and unstable sea state, and to follow its latest weather bulletins and reports. The beer company signed an agreement with local companies for recycling solid material with developed scientific technologies according to international standards. It came within the framework to get rid of lead-acid batteries and use tires safely and in accordance with the environmental agreements. It's worth mentioning that the Sultanate produced around 14,000 tons of lead-acid batteries in 2020. The beer company would receive the expired tires through its various centers around the Sultanate so as to safely deal with such material to keep the environment safe from their negative impacts. You're watching the Sultanate of Oman television, and yet to come in our news bulletin. A French sailor created a robotic sea cleaning boat to pick floating trash from water. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. In collaboration between the Minister of Endowments and Religious Affairs and Oman Down Syndrome Association, the initiative Rehabilitating Them is a Blessing was launched today. The event was presided over by His Excellency Dr. Mohammed bin Saeed Al Ma'mari and the Secretary of the Minister of Endowments and Religious Affairs. More details in the following report.
Within the constant endeavors to provide top-notch rehabilitation, training and educational services for people with Down syndrome, the Ministry of Endowments and Religious Affairs, in collaboration with Oman Down Syndrome Association, launched a project for memorizing the Holy Quran and its sciences entitled Rehabilitating Them is a Blessing.
We in the Ministry of Endowment and Religious Affairs are very happy to launch this program. We believe that this program will help people with Down syndrome to build up their speech, skills, and behavior.
The project is the first of its kind in the Arab world dedicated to people with Down syndrome and their families. The teachers assigned for this program will go through a special training to enable them to deal with people with Down syndrome easily and achieve the desired results of the program.
Cooperation between the Omani Down Syndrome Association and the Ministry of Endowments resulted in a program for memorizing the Holy Quran. The project will contribute positively. It will strengthen the pronunciation and reduce the literacy difficulties for the Down syndrome people. Moreover, the association will train the Quran teachers on how to pronounce for the Down syndrome people.
Free registration for Down syndrome people and their families across the Sultanate shall be opened for a period of 2 weeks, starting from 15th of August 2021, through the virtual platforms of the Ministry of Endowments and Religious Affairs and Oman Down Syndrome Association. The initiative will provide a quantum leap service for people with Down syndrome towards improving their pronunciation and articulation in a very convenient spiritual and social atmosphere. Salih Bukhalfan al-Rahbi, Sultanate of Oman Television, Muscat.
The electrical power production project at Sohar Industrial Port, implemented by the Majis Industrial Service Company, has been completed. The electrical power production project contributes to reducing carbon emissions and the operational cost of electricity and other facilities at the plant. The formation of photovoltaic solar panels came in the form of a 6-petal rose indicating green sustainability and clean environment. The project will direct manufacturing and production sectors in the industrial and concession areas to a clean approach in the production of electrical energy and reduce consumption cost. The Oman oil price September delivery 2021 today reached $74.86, comprising an increase by 36 cents from the price of yesterday Tuesday, which was $74.50. The average price of Oman oil July delivery 2021 has stabilized at $66.40, thus $3.30 per barrel higher than June delivery 2021. Lebanon's Prime Minister-designate Saad al-Hariri visited Egypt today and held talks with the Egyptian Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry. The visit comes amid intense security of Lebanon's politicians and officials as the country faces an economic and political crisis. Hariri is expected to return to Lebanon later today and meet with President Michel Aoun and hand him a cabinet list which Aoun will very likely reject. A power struggle has emerged between Hariri, named to the post in October, on the one side, and Aoun and his son-in-law Gibran Basil, who heads the largest bloc in parliament, on the other. The top leaders locked horns over the shape of the government, while the country's economic problems unfolding since late 2019 worsened. Hariri is also widely expected to step down later this week in a move many fear will only make the situation worse. The economic crisis has been compounded by the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on Lebanon and the massive blast at Beirut's port last year. In north-central Washington state, hundreds of people in the town of Nespelem were ordered to leave the area because of imminent and life-threatening danger as the largest of 5 wildfires in the area tore through grass, sagebrush and timber. Andrew Joseph Jr., chairman of the Confederation Tribes of the Coralville Reservation, that includes more than 9,000 descendants of a dozen tribes, said 7 homes burned, but 4 were vacant and the entire town evacuated safely before the fire arrived. The Confederation declared a state of emergency yesterday, said the reservation was closed to the public and to industrial activity. Residents said that they were waking up to find out that they have another fire that started, and that's called the Kino Fire, which is northeast of Keller, Washington. Meanwhile, wildfires continued to ravage Russia's Far East today. Russian emergency ministry said military aircraft and helicopter were deployed to put out the fires in the Yakuts region. In total, the forces of the Russian Defense Ministry dropped over 420 tons of water on the wildfires. According to officials, 316 forest fires continued to burn in the Yakuts region. More than 620,000 hectares were affected by forest fires in Yakuts. More than 6,000 emergency workers and more than 1,000 units of equipment have been involved in putting out the fires in the Kamchatka and the Yakuts regions in the past 24 hours. The jellyfish boat flickered a yellow glow amongst white boats docked at a southern French port as the robotic sea cleaning boat gobbled up plastic bags, discarded drinks, bottles, and even used surgical masks floating on the water. Here is a report on that.
At the ports of the French city of Cassis, the remote-controlled electric-powered boat weaves around the harbor, sucking the trash into a net that it trails behind its hulls. The jellyfish boat is about the size of a suitcase and can pick up rubbish from the corners and narrow spaces where trash tend to accumulate, but which are too inaccessible for cleaners with nets to reach. It can go everywhere, said Nicolas Carlesi, who has a PhD in underwater robotics and the CEO of the company that created the boat. A keen sailor and diver, Carlesi said he came up with the idea after noticing, whenever he spent leisure time on the water, how much rubbish floated around ports. The jellyfish bot is not the only device of its kind. San Diego nonprofit Clear Blue Sea is developing a prototype trash collecting drone called Fret. Around 600,000 tons of plastic end up in the Mediterranean Sea yearly, according to a 2019 report published by the WWF. The jellyfish bot is in operation at around 15 French ports and has been exported to countries including Singapore, Japan and Norway, according to Carlesi's company. The robot lightens the workload of local cleaners, as they don't have to walk around the waters as much, especially as Jellyfish Bot is able to go to the most isolated corners. The Jellyfish Bot solves all these constraints.
This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. The Ministry of Health reports 12 deaths and 1,084 new COVID-19 cases. Sultanate and Sri Lanka discuss enhancing cooperation in industrial and commercial exchange fields. And the trough of low pressure over Arabian Sea continues to affect most of the Sultanate. And with that, we do conclude this news bulletin brought to you live from this news center of the Sultanate of Oman television. From me and the entire news team, we thank you for joining us. Wish you a pleasant evening. Stay safe and healthy, and keep following all the precautionary measures. Thank you and good night.
في كل قرية وكل حارة طبيب وطبيبة، ممرض وممرضة، مضمد ومضمدة، وغيرهم ممن يعملوا ضمن الطواقم الطبية. تعرفهم ونعرفهم، تعبوا سهروا وضحوا علشاننا. ساعات عمل طويلة ومرهقة ومواقف صعبة ومؤلمة. شكراً لأنكم حولنا.
كنتم خير عون لنا، حملتم المسؤولية على عاتقكم في أشد الأوقات صعوبة. كانت سلامة مجتمعكم هاجسكم الأول، واليوم أنتم أولويتنا، وحمايتكم مسؤوليتنا. تطعيمكم حماية لكم لتبقوا معنا، ويبقى حضوركم يمدنا بالصحة.
نافذة جديدة يطل منها الشباب، أفكارهم، منجزاتهم، ابتكاراتهم، مشاركاتهم واهتماماتهم تجتمع هنا في برنامج إنجاز يأتيكم في الأوقات التالية.
صغيرتي، مرحبا بك. تعالي اقتربي مني، دعيني أريك شيئا. أترين؟ الطب بالتجربة وليس بالكتب وحسب.